heavy cake, to say the least. So for a single recipe, I have my lid on top of my lid. Kind of like when you do muffins, if you leave the spill. But because we're using those big loaf pans, we're going to stick with the Bundt. Cake tester here, and they come out clean. There is or not. Nope, that's not a big enough piece. So now So my friend Sherry over at Southern Roots by Sherry, she's been out of YouTube for a bit, and she's come back in and she is ready to get this party started. She is hosting Pounding into March, like pound cake. So today we're joining in on the collaboration for National Pound Cake Day, and we're making a cream cheese pound cake. I'm so excited to give this a try. I have never made a pound cake, so this may be a complete flop, and it probably will be super delicious either way. So welcome to the channel. If you're new here, my name's Angela. I'm the inquisitive farm wife, and I'm so glad to have you here with me in the kitchen. Let's get started. I'm going to start out with, we're going to be using my Bosch mixer today to put this all together because it is the only mixer I have that can do a double batch, because we're going to be making not one but 2 pound cakes today, because I am planning on, if this goes well, that I am going to be serving this to a crowd. So I'm wanting to make this ahead of time, put it in the freezer. We'll talk a little bit about how you can do that so that when this special event comes up, I am ready. And that is one less thing that I have to do the week prior to that happening. This is the first time I'm also going to be using my cake paddles for my Bosch mixer. You can only use these if you have the metal insert in your Bosch. So if you have one of the plastic ones, these won't work for you. Just use your regular mixing. And first thing we want to do is beat our butter. So do you have any idea why they call pound cake pound cake? Well, I had to ask myself and figure out what that answer was because, you know, me, curious by nature, I needed to know. So the original pound cake was made with a pound of butter, a pound of sugar, and a pound of eggs, I believe. Now we've created different things with our pound cakes and different flavors and things, but it's a very heavy cake, to say the least. So for a single recipe, you'll need 3 sticks of butter. Remember, we're doubling. I'm using 6. This just happens to be my homemade butter. I'm going to be using a lot of homemade ingredients today, and I'm really proud to say that I have so much that's coming from my little farm. It really does give me a sense of pride. I'm getting this recipe online from Sally's Baking, and I will do my darndest to remember to post that link in there, but if not, you know who to look up. A lot of the tips and tricks come from her, so give credit where credit's due, right? I actually made this butter in a different time when I had a lot of milk coming in and a lot of heavy cream. You know, dairy animals will seasonally give you different amounts of cream versus milk, and that all depends on grass, lactation, and several factors. So I have this, all my ingredients you see here today are going to be at room temperature. So I'm just going to kind of break my butter up just in half to kind of give it a good start. And all I'm going to do is we're going to move over to my mixer, and we're going to mix the butter. We're going to cream it for about 2 minutes before we add any other ingredients to it. You want to make sure your butter is good and soft. Do not use frozen butter for this. Okay, our butter is good and creamed. They suggest using an unsalted butter. I forgot, while I had this creaming together, I did turn the oven on to 325 degrees. You do that because we're cooking this low and slow, kind of like you do meat, you know. Usually you can bake cakes at 320 or 350 to 375. This is 325. So next thing I want to do is, I believe we'll add our cream cheese. So for a single recipe, you would use 1 block of cream cheese. I'm doubling this again, so we're going to use 2 blocks. I measured mine out by weight, which would be 18 ounces. And I did that because this is homemade cream cheese. If you want to know how I did that, I will have a video somewhere for you. You can go check out my dairy playlist where I show you how to make all sorts of delicious dairy treats. So I'm going to take this for 1 minute and I'm going to mix it up. Again, this is at room temperature. Now that our butter and our cream cheese have creamed together, we will add our sugar. For a single batch, it's 2.5 cups. Remember, we're doubling today. That'll go for about a minute. Now that we have our butter, our cream cheese, and our sugar all blended together, we're going to add in some sour cream. I believe it was 2/3 of a cup, 1/3 of a cup per batch. I love using cream cheese and sour cream in dessert recipes. It just gives a little bit of zing to it and it makes it super moist. Can you tell? I love my dairy. And then to this, we're also going to add some vanilla. Today I have my homemade vanilla. I don't believe I have a video on that, but I do have one on how to make mint extract. Let's try to remember to put it here, but there is a playlist of all the videos I make. It calls for 2 teaspoons, which would be 1 tablespoon plus 1 teaspoon if we double it. So I just put in 1 tablespoon, 2 tablespoons. Why not? I love vanilla. Now, if you want to customize this, definitely you could spruce this up by putting a little almond extract. Oh, that would be super delicious. But think about citruses in the springtime. Orange, lemon, any extract that you have that you want to use, you can add that in now. About a teaspoon. You guessed it, over to be blended for 1 minute. Next, we'll add the last of the liquid ingredients, which is eggs. Here I have my farm fresh eggs. I tend to leave mine out on the counter most times for personal use, so they're always great for baking and ready and easy to get to. We're going to go ahead and crack them one at a time. Look at that beautiful yellow yolk. And one at a time, I'm going to add these in and blend them up. I have my lid on top of my mixer so that it doesn't splash out when I do this. 6 eggs per batch, a dozen for the entire batch. We're going to start measuring out our dry ingredients. I have some cake flour here. It is strongly suggested to use cake flour for this recipe. Cake flour is a little bit more airy and fluffy. It's a really fine product. I'm going to maybe compare it something to using powdered sugar instead of granulated sugar. And what you want to do is you want to make sure that you are measuring off. Take a flat surface to make sure you're measuring that off right. I want to show you I'm not pushing down on this. I just kind of go like this and then I would scrape that off. More accurate way to measure is actually to weigh your flours. You need a 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, 1/8 teaspoon of salt. And now what I want to do is I'm going to mix this up just to make sure that I have my baking soda and my salt kind of mixed a little bit before we mix, if that makes any sense, because I want to gradually add a little bit into my mixer at a time so that we don't have any huge lumps, but I don't want to overmix it. It's kind of like muffins. You'll ruin your product. So, 1 scoop at a time, I'm just going to keep adding until it looks like it's mixed, and then I'm going to stop. At this point, I'm going to stop, and I'm going to scrape everything down off the sides. Pulling up anything from the bottom that I think might be sticking. All right, our batter is made. So now let's talk a little bit about what kind of pan we're going to use. This recipe, along with many others, actually put pound cakes into Bundt pans, which if I was making a single batch, that's exactly what I would do. But because I'm making a double batch and I'm wanting to serve a crowd, I think this would be a lot easier to serve in a slice with a longer pan. So at home, you can choose to use two of the 9x5 loaf pans, or today what I have is actually a Wilton, I believe it is an Angel Food cake pan. And what I'm doing is I am taking a paper towel and I am generously greasing, I am coating the pan. Yes, you can use the spray stuff, but I have found that this is what works best. This is what my grandma always did. And you know, grandmas know best. And so this is what I'm going to do. Generously with the vegetable shortening, I am going to coat this pan. And because it's a double batch, we'll be doing this twice. Something else that grandma used to do, the recipe does not call for this, but I'm going to do it because this is a special occasion I'm wanting this for. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take a little bit of this cake flour and I'm going to dust my pan. This should also help with it not sticking. And all you have to do is tap it to make sure all the corners and all the sides have been coated. Just take your time, go around it a couple of times. Might make yourself a little bit of a mess, but it is a mess that you won't regret making if your cake sticks in your pan. And then now we are ready to scoop this into our pan. I knew this would happen. I knew I could count on my Bosch. I was able to do two, not one, but two cakes in one mixer. I just knew that my upstairs KitchenAid, that wasn't going to happen. Give this one more scrape and mix. And now I'm just going to scoop this into my cake pan real even like. I think I'll put one on each side just to make sure that I can kind of disperse those lumps. Okay, getting those into the pans as even as I can. I'm just going to kind of tap it a little bit, bring those bubbles to the top. And I'll let that rest for just a moment. These are going to actually bake in the oven for about an hour and a half. You'll want to check them at the halfway point, maybe turn them around, rotate them a bit, and tint them with some tin foil. But before we put them in the oven, if you notice, I'm wiping down the outside with just a soapy rag. Grab some paper towel, and we're going to wipe any spots on the inside here that are above where the most of the batter is, because that will kind of burn. I mean, it's going to rise some, yes. Kind of like when you do muffins, if you leave the spills all over the muffin tin on the, between where each of the little muffin tins are, those bits will burn, and we don't want that to happen. So I'm not wiping off all of the vegetable shortening. It will take off some of the powder, but it's okay. Usually I'm just kind of cleaning up. If you're worried about it, you could go in and recoat that, but I can tell that I had plenty on there that we're going to be okay. So into the oven, these are going to go for anywhere from, I think it's 75 to 95 minutes. Just kind of alternate them a little bit. Oh, and if you're using two of the smaller loaf pans, you want to reduce that time to about an hour. So check on it at about the half-hour mark if that's the route you choose to go. But because we're using those big loaf pans, we're going to stick with the Bundt pan time. Okay, these just came out of the oven. I had them tinted so that they would not turn super crispy. And just around the edges, they are a little bit brown. I'll bring you in a minute. I'll try to insert a picture or something somewhere. But I wanted to show you, I've got my cake tester here, and they come out clean. There is, see, so perfect, we're done. There is a couple of spots where there was some butter that didn't get completely mixed in. We kind of talked about that when we were mixing it there at the end. And so there's a few pockets. See, you can see how the edges are crispy brown. I kind of like those crispy brown bits. It's like brown butter on cookies. And you can see right here, we had a little bit of butter pockets going on, but I mean, it's a pound cake and all that butter. Had to expect that to happen. But I still think that this is going to come out delicious. It smells amazing. I am so excited how this turned out. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah. But anyway, this has to cool. They suggest letting it set in the pan just like this for 2 hours. So this is perfect timing for me. I can go out and go do chores, and then we'll come back in and I'll tell you what to do next. See you then. Don't go away. Okay, I knew you guys would want to see this part, so I brought you along. It has been more than the 2 hours, but it's been more like 2.5 or 3, but that's okay. Let's see if this is going to come out. Oh no. It's acting like it's going to stick. Oh no. Oh no. Okay. Got my offset spatula. We're going to take it and go along the sides and see if that makes a difference. Turn it upside down. Oh, I forgot the ends. Whoops, we'll do that on this one. I have not felt it release. Oh, this is supposed to pop out. And then you're supposed to let it completely cool to wrap it. Evidently, I've let this sit in here too long. See if we can convince it otherwise, okay? I mean, I did all the tricks I knew to make it not stick. Oh dear. I heard it. I heard it. Yay! And it's all in one piece. Oh, and look at that crust on the outside. Oh. Okay. Now let's work over this one a little bit more. Won't this be nice to just slice this up and serve it? Well, I am just so excited about this. This is going to serve several people, and I'm thinking with some whipped topping, you know, with some fresh cream, that kind of whipped topping, and possibly even, you know, like some berries or other fruit. Is that the code? No, not yet. Oh, I think we have it this time. Maybe. We shall see. I felt it. It stayed in one piece. Yeehaw! I did it! Oh my goodness. This is so exciting. And you can see it did stick a little on the bottom, but it's going to be perfectly fine. And it is going to be great to be able to serve to my special event, to my guest at my special event. This is completely cool, in my opinion. Do I want to cut it in half? That is the question. I do think it probably would travel better separate, but is it going to look nice to have it full for presentation when I go to cut it for serving? Decisions. Well, let's get some plastic wrap. Got this industrial size plastic wrap that I get at Sam's Club. And I think what I'll do, I'm just afraid that it's so heavy, it's going to break anyway. Let's go ahead and, I want to cut it in half or in thirds. I think if I cut it in half, it'll be fine. That's about the size of a loaf pan. So in hindsight, for freezing purposes, maybe having used 4 loaf pans would have been the better decision. But it's okay. I am perfectly fine with this. So I'm going to, oh, look at that. Look at the inside of that. Can you see that? Guys, I'm so excited about this. So I'm just going to take this and wrap it up. Okay. And now we will wrap it the other way. Oops. Ah. Sometimes this tears off better than others. And There we go. So now I will wrap this in foil. And there we have it. It'll be ready for me. This will travel easy like this. And all I need to do is put it out in the refrigerator a day before I want to serve it and let it completely thaw, and then bring it out the morning of that I want to serve it so it can get to room temperature before we slice it and serve it. So guys, thank you so much for being here with me today. All I'm going to do now is repeat this until they're done and stick them in the freezer. I may get a plastic bag to put them all in, or a Tupperware of some sort just to keep them together so my family doesn't eat it. But I am so glad that you were here with me today, and thank you, Sherry, for encouraging me to make a pound cake. I was very reluctant and very hesitant to do it, and now I am so happy I did, and I cannot tell you how proud I am for all of the from scratch homemade ingredients that I was able to put in here. And it's so easy to do. All of you can make them too. I have a whole playlist on all the homemade things that I used today. I hope you go check them out. Until next time, my friends, bye for now.